Hey guys, welcome back. As you may or may not know, Brandon and I were lucky enough to go to the Mets v Cubs game on May 1st, this past Wednesday, and we got a chance to tour Citi Field before the game. It was a pretty awesome experience. Brandon, your thoughts on the stadium?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. It's a great. It honestly is a great stadium. The video board down center field is maybe the biggest video board in the world. It feels like. It's that the concourse is great. There's always a lot to do. The outside of the stadium is well kept, especially considering it's the middle of Queens in New York. Um, and so overall, I think the stadium itself is super great. It's visually appealing. And it's always, it's very rare, I think, that you see a stadium where it doesn't feel like there's like a bad seat in the house, but it feels like every seat in Citi Field is a pretty good one.
I'll give a quick recap of going from Penn Station where we started to Citi Field. The travel was great to get there. I mean, it's a pretty straight shot. There's some places, Camden Yards, it's kind of, coming from Baltimore, it's not the easiest place to get to considering it's not the center of Baltimore. I mean, considering this is kind of, you have to go a little bit out of your way. It's not, in New York itself. It's a pretty straight shot to get there. So travel was great. The facilities itself was really clean, and I felt just kind of like it felt like a very welcoming crowd, and security was, it wasn't a bad time getting in. I do have a gripe almost immediately when we got in, which is the prices of the food. I mean, listen, every single place that you will go to at a baseball or any stadium, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, whatever, ultimate frisbee, I don't care what game you're going to. This is what grinds my gears. It's gonna be expensive. But our food was more expensive than our tickets. I mean, it really did kind of discourage me from buying any other. And the food wasn't even like there wasn't a lot of options at the game either for food compared to other stadiums I've been to.
Yeah, definitely the low light was the concessions, the options. It just felt like there was two or three different concession stands that they just sort of kept plopping, copying and pasting around the stadium. Obviously, look, it's New York in 2024, so prices are going to be high, but it was very, very expensive to do anything in the stadium. Getting inside the stadium wasn't too bad, but once you were in the stadium, that's sort of where they got you. So yeah, definitely the low light of the night was just the food options and the event, the affordability of it. But other than that, I was generally very happy with Citi Field, and again, we were lucky to have a very good Cubs crowd out on that night, so it was so
Absolutely.
cool to see a lot of Cubs fans out there.
Again, something that I was really surprised about, I've said it in other videos about this game, is I was really surprised about how many Cubs fans were able to make it out to this game. Again, New York is such a central hub for people to travel, but I was glad to see how like the amount of Cubs jerseys out in the crowd. Something I'm also going to add on to this because I feel like it has to be said. It was also just really cool seeing the different kind of Citi Field is a kind of a very, I think, updated stadium compared to some of the other ones. So it's good to see that funds are going kind of in the right direction when it comes to that stadium. I know that there's other stadiums when it comes to more of the historic ones that listen. I know you want to keep it the way they are, like, but at the same time, I'm glad that, some modernized stadiums are looking the way they are, like Citi Field is.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Obviously, coming from Wrigley Field, the most historic ballpark in the game, the Cubs have sort of towed the line of, having to keep it somewhat modern with, the video boards and everything going on with the Wrigley rooftops, but also, keeping all the iconic stuff. But yeah, I mean, you get to Citi Field, which, they have the Shea Bridge, which is in, honor of, Shea Stadium, from all those, from a couple decades ago. But yeah, I think it's great to see, that, City Field constantly gets renovations that they, it felt clean, which was, nice to see. I've been to all 30 baseball stadiums and I can definitely tell some horror stories of some of the stadiums that are not well kept. So definitely it was nice that it was such a sort of modernized version of a ballpark.
Needless to say, if you're ever thinking about going to a Mets game, as much as, the Yankees are probably, I'm going to probably get some flack for this, but as much as probably the Yankees are the more well-known New York team, and it's probably what more people opt to go see when they're going to, if it's like, oh, the Cubs are going to play the Yankees or they're going to go play the Mets. Which team am I going to go see play? Citi Field isn't a bad choice. Go see a Mets game when the Cubs are playing them. It's a pretty good time.